Alright, so cool. I've been meaning to make this video for a long time, and I've been trying to make this change myself, but of course you guys all watch content creators, not just me, but any content creator you watch. You might even make your own tier list. This video is about tier lists, right? And you've already read it, the problem with tier lists. The accuracy of tier lists is very misleading for many reasons. And I'm gonna build a scenario for you right now. You go on twitter.com, and when you go on twitter.com, you're following Zakashi on Twitter, the best Dragon Ball Legends content creator on YouTube, right? And you see him tweet his tier list, and you see his tier list, and he has a certain unit that you very much disagree with being within a top 10 spectrum. However, people are very impulsive when you're looking at it. So I'm gonna take you. You just see the order and you don't really read the tiers and what they say. With that being the case, you would automatically assume that Zakashi YT believes X unit is top 10 in the game flat out. Well, that's why a fine man would say you should definitely subscribe to his channel, so you could see the full production of the tier list on his YouTube channel. It's actually pretty good considering that he makes amazing content. Anyways, the point was, tier lists have everybody's own subjective reasonings onto it, and if it's just a flat out top 10 list, then fair enough, you could say this person thinks XYZ thing. But tier lists were not meant to be as simple as a top 10 list. Tier lists were meant to have tiers, and the tiers would slot people into different demographics in a sense. Oh, that's only about population. I'm gonna try not to be smart. Groups. It's very easy to look at a tier list, and just because somebody's in a higher tier, in most cases that would mean they are better. But of course, tier lists are subjective to everybody's reasonings. Naturally, everybody would see a list and think if you're higher, you're better. But of course, these are tier lists. If it's a top 10 list, fair enough, but tier lists are very much different. I seen this tweet from Diallo, and I think it very much closes out everything I want to say, but I'm gonna go into much more depth about this topic anyways. His tweet says, just because a unit is not meta doesn't mean they're not good. And then in the replies, he gave a couple examples off the top of his head, and he includes the like of Beast Gohan, UI Sign, Kid Buu, and Ultra Gogeta Blue. This is implying that those 4 units are not the most popular units right now because the meta is comprised of other units. This directly correlates to my point about tier lists on how if you're making a top 10 list, just because a unit isn't in the top 10 list doesn't mean they also won't be used, and vice versa. You could probably check a lot of tier lists right now and you will struggle to see Beast Gohan, and people at different battle ranks very much struggle to comprehend why Beast Gohan would not be top 10. But there are also other factors that go with that, such as the battle rank you're playing at, how competitive you are in general, what teams you like to use, and what teams people like to use overall. It could very much skew your perspective because you can't see anything else but what you see. So you'd have to go out your way to see what other people see. Essentially looking for other people's lenses. Now in my case, I've been trying to actually make my tier list a lot more specific. Specific tiers would make tier lists a lot more complicated, but I feel like that's what tier lists are about, making it so that you can get all the specific details from every single factor and simplifying it down for somebody to comprehend very easily. Right now, I'm going to tell you an old tale, and if you've been playing pretty much since after the 3rd anniversary maybe, you wouldn't remember this existing, but there was a page once called Game Press, and Game Press, they were the original tier list makers. They had all the word of say. They were pretty much the monopoly of tier lists. What they used to do is run this website every other month or something, or every month they would drop a new tier list when units dropped. Back then we only got 1 banner a month, and it might even just be an all-star banner. Legends Limiteds weren't that consistent. So with them doing this, and bear in mind they were the only people doing this, they were pretty much just running a monopoly, and everybody would then make their own opinions based on their opinions. And it used to be a lot more fun that way because pretty much they were the heads giving their opinion. As much glazing as that might sound.
Oh my God, bro, is dick riding all you do? No, I'm saying, like, you literally got that nigga dick in your mouth right now. I see it.
Their opinion was the highest opinion, and then the community would basically give an overall consensus of whether they agree or disagree. And it's a lot simpler to do it like that if you just have one person at the top, but it doesn't necessarily mean they were always correct, which is something that goes without saying the community could easily recognize.
But you know, this Dragon Ball Legends stuff gets very serious.
And somewhere down the line, I think a Twitter account got banned. RIP the bro. and the website just basically stopped putting out tier lists because it got very political. Now around this time, a lot of content creators, including myself, just started making tier lists, and from this point everybody just began chiming in their opinion, and Twitter became a whole landscape on where you could just drop your own tier list and have a discourse even if you didn't have a major following. But in most cases it would be based off what content creators would say, including the likes of myself. If you've been on Twitter, there's been a lot of occasions where people have made some ridiculous takes, and with those ridiculous takes, I don't want to say there should be consequences because it's really just opinions,
but people take this Dragon Ball Legends stuff very seriously,
to the point where there's kind of been. I'm definitely not involved in none of that, but of course I love giving my own opinion on Twitter, I love giving my own opinion on tier lists, and I'm not going to say I'm objectively always right, but in a lot of cases some people do be wildin'. It's never that serious to give somebody a tier list, by the way, but of course with everybody being able to give their own opinion, and they always have been, there's a lot more favor in doing so now. You get a lot of tier lists that don't actually have any careful consideration, and as a result of that you just get top 10 tier lists where people can't comprehend it and people want to impulsively give their own 2 cents under someone else's opinion. I'm gonna put one of my tier lists on the screen right now as an example, because in my tier list I've been trying to incorporate this, which is what I said at the start of the video. Now in my case, I've been trying to actually make my tier list a lot more specific. Oda, the creator of One Piece, Oda, I'm foreshadowing, I'm getting on your level, bro. You'll see I've made specific tiers that say would not be top 10 or things like that. Pretty much don't tier list them, etc, etc. I feel like the tiers are very important to establish what you're talking about when you're making a tier list. Again, if it's just a top 10 list, that's cool, but then it doesn't need to be a tier list. It's just a top 10 list, you know? But there's not much different anyways, and I'm not the tier list police. I'm just giving my opinion here as well. I kind of feel like I'm going in circles, but I'm hoping I'm getting my point across well. Let me wrap this up in short, so I feel like I've made a lot of sense. I don't really want to just go in circles, but I'm pretty sure you've been following along well. Number one, the quality of tier lists has downgraded because a tier list can be misconstrued with a top 10 list. Even though they're pretty much the same thing, a tier list can have major differences because the tiers can be based on so many different factors. Number two, because of top 10 lists crossing over with tier lists, a lot of units don't get considered. Back in the day, GamePress used to consider pretty much every single unit, and I mean every single unit. You would not see a tier list without a mention of one Legends Limited unit. But YouTubers, generally speaking, are not going to make a tier list including every single Legends Limited unit every time a banner drops. Do you know how long and ridiculous that is? But that was also the glory of GamePress. They would be the ones to do all that dirty work, and the community can really just consume their opinion. But last thing, the meta relevance in accordance to top 10 and tier lists also leaves out a lot of units that a lot of people can't comprehend wouldn't be top 10. Again, back to Diallo's post, the reference of Beast Gohan specifically, people couldn't believe it. People can't believe it. But again, it's really down to what are you talking about. So I think I'm just going to close out this video with saying everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But again, your reasonings on what your tier list is based on, your reasoning on what your top 10 list is based on is pretty much what will be used against you if you make a statement that goes under some ridiculous logic. And I feel like that's generally what the community does when they take in a tier list. If you disagree with something, make your own tier list and respond with it, because you're also free to your own opinion. But yeah, I'm gonna leave the video like that, man. I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, like I said, but I'm going to probably still continue doing tier lists, but I'm probably gonna keep trying to make my tier list a lot more specific every time that I make a tier list, so that I'm just not making a silly top 10 that can easily be disputed. But again, that's a lot easier to do than making a serious, accurate tier list where you actually have tiers that specify what people do what and etc. And I think the tiers that GamePress had were really, really good, because they even introduced the God tier, which is actually what I use in my top 10 tier list. But a lot of people just go with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way through to 10. Press the subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 100k subscribers. 75k subscribers is the next goal. That would be 3/4 of 100k. I'm gonna leave the video like that. My name's Zakashi, guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. Definitely leave your opinion down below in the comment section below. I've said that a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.